Pengers and Kev Talk Sport on Ocean City Radio.
Right, so I'm here with Damian Welch, head coach of Plymouth Albion. How's it feel to be back?
Yeah, it's good. Obviously, we've had a bit of an up and down kind of season, pre-season, however you want to call it, because we've obviously had so many stop-starts, and it's been one of those things where the boys have done really well just to kind of roll with a lot of punches that we've had to deal with, and it's been interesting. It's definitely one of those things where we've had to kind of work it out as we go along, but the boys have been good. We've all enjoyed being back, to be honest.
And the motivation levels, I'm assuming all the guys are up for starting in February, are they?
Yeah, it's high. I mean, one of the hardest things for kind of any athlete is to kind of train with no end point in sight, and I think that was the bit that we found the hardest about kind of going back to kind of maybe June, July's time when we were doing fitness up on the top training pitch, was that fact that we had no end date in sight. And it does obviously affect players' motivation. You know, you try and pretend it doesn't, but it does at the end of the day. Yeah. These boys are competitive animals. They're used to playing games on a weekend. With a league and something to aim for, something to strive for. So the fact that we've actually got some kind of competition on the horizon is definitely going to be good for them. Yeah,
I mean the format of the NCA Cup seems quite good actually, with many teams from National 2, a National 1 newcomer. I mean, what are your expectations in terms of the squad and the team going forward? I mean, a lot of the guys are new, you're new, so it'd be good for our listeners to know exactly where you're aiming.
Yeah, I think it's a really it's a good competition for us, and it kind of comes in some ways at the right time. It's a good chance for us to kind of ultimately set our stall out and say, right, we want to do well in this cup. There's any competition we go into, as I've just said, they're competitive animals. Myself as well, we're going to want to do well. So there's that big kind of carrot of Twickenham at the end of it, which for any rugby player playing at Twickenham is always a massive deal. It's the kind of thing the boys will get G'd up for and will get excited about, and obviously as a coaching group, it's something that we'd like to try and strive towards. But that said as well, we kind of see a bit of value in this cup in terms of prepping ourselves for National 1. Yeah. It's a double-edged sword really. We want to do well. We also want to try things. We want to put people in positions maybe they hadn't been in before. There's some things we're quite keen on trying. For example, maybe putting a bit of leadership on guys who maybe haven't had that role thrust on them before, just to kind of see how they react, and ultimately kind of do ourselves some favours in the long term by just promoting a bit more leadership within the squad, and getting everyone to kind of mature rugby wise on the hoof. So it's going to be an interesting competition. We make no bones about the fact that we want to do well in it. I can't see any club at the moment having been caged up for this long, not wanting to go into it and giving it their all really. So it's a good target for us, and it'll be interesting to see where we are. We'll obviously use the squad, and we'll see where we are at the end of it.
Cool. So obviously you've had some newcomers into the squad over the summer period. They must be quite frustrated at the fact they've not been able to actually show you how they play rugby yet. I assume these guys have settled in well?
Yeah, everyone's settled in well. It's the kind of squad where it's in some ways it's a vicious squad, because they like to kind of keep each other in check with a lot of jokes and the usual rugby banter, and any tall poppies tend to get cut down. But it's still a nice squad to be in. The boys you can tell clearly they care about each other, and they put in a lot of effort in training. That's the one thing that I said from the start we needed to see, without in spades, without any kind of excuses, and we've never had any reasons to question their attitude from the start. So it's been great really, and I think those new boys obviously as I said with this NCA Cup, it's handy for us in a way, because it gives them that chance to actually put their hand up and say, I've almost got a kind of a dry run at this really before we hit that National 1, which is obviously our bread and butter as a league really. Okay,
is that the end of signings for 2021, or can we expect anyone new, or are you happy with what you've got?
First and foremost, I think we're happy with what we got. I was lucky to inherit a good squad to start with, which we've just tried to tweak here and there in a couple of positions, and bring in a bit of competition for places, a bit of quality there, just to add to the quality we already had. I think you're going to find it's a strange time to make signings at the moment, obviously with the way the game is and the the kind of limits that we've got on ourselves as a business, and rugby in general. Yeah. So I think it's just a case of, at the moment there's nothing on the horizon. It's just kind of putting our heads down, working in this NCA Cup, and then we'll just see where we are at the end of that. And we'll obviously look at the squad makeup as we go. We'll keep our eyes out for what's about and what we need. But obviously my main hope is that this squad takes this NCA Cup and runs with it, and really does some good work there, which makes us look into signings. It makes it difficult for us to see where we need to bring quality in really.
Okay, and the Chiefs boys, will they be returning this season, or is that something that's not possible due to COVID?
We've got the Chiefs boys returning. It's just a case of when, because obviously, as you just alluded to, the COVID rules. First and foremost, they're Chiefs boys, so they have to be available to train for the Chiefs, which obviously necessitates them being in that bubble environment, which we completely understand and completely support. And it's just another of those strange kind of facets of the game at the moment that we just have to deal with and roll the punches a little bit.
Right, okay, and we've got the new format, which obviously dumps the need for scrums and dumps the need for mauls. I assume the training's been based around that. I mean, Jamie Salter has lost a tremendous amount of weight over the lockdown period.
Yeah, to be fair to Salts, he lost that before any of these rules came in, so I think that was just a personal choice that he made, and, you know, if he feels better for that, that's fine, as long as, you know, obviously when scrums come back in, he'll have to take a view on where he is with that, but that's entirely down to him at the end of the day. But it's disappointing in some ways to not have those facets of the game, especially myself as a forward. It's, you know, it's kind of the area of the game that I'm, you know, most familiar with.
Bread and butter, isn't it?
Bread and butter, exactly. It's the area of the game that I enjoy. But at the end of the day, it's just going to be great to have some rugby back in whatever form we can. And quite frankly, I think all the boys are just keen just to get going with whatever adapted rules they feel they need to put onto us. So, as I said before, we'll roll with the punches. We'll kind of deal with it. We've had a look at kind of how the rules affect our game, and just from speaking to the players and my own kind of desires for the squad, I think we want to play a fast game anyway. So in some ways, this is actually going to promote that at an earlier stage than we otherwise would have done. So it's a win there, I suppose, as well.